Brady's going to be able to still play.
Yeah.
He still can play. He's just not going to play.
Well, he's one of us. Brady's one of us. He lost his family for the drug. He lost everything for the drug. He's one of us. He gave it all away.
I gave it all up for one more. For just
one more, right? He gave it all away.
For one more, you know.
Well, that's what, like, my
goes
dad,
to show you.
They were saying, like, oh, I can't understand why he would do that. And I'm like, well, you obviously don't understand that mind frame, or you don't look into it. Because once you get that feeling, right, like, you'll do anything for that feeling, right? For, like you said, just for one more.
Just for one.
This podcast is brought to you by our friends at Sorensen's Ace Hardware, located at 402 Washington Avenue in Los Banos, proudly serving the community since 1947. Please check out our friend at Sorensen's for all your hardware needs. Come on, guys, support those who support us. Thanks, Sorensen's. This podcast is brought to you by our friend and realtor, Naomi Townsends with Keller Williams Property Teams. She'll help you in every step of the way, whether you're buying or selling a home, commercial property, mobile home, or even a vacant lot. In the last few years, she's helped hundreds of families buy their dream homes in the Central Valley, Bay Area, Monterey, and even the Sacramento area. Check her Zillow profile where she has a perfect 5-star ranking. She is also bilingual in Spanish. In 2021, she was in the national top 2 in her brokerage. Please, guys, check out her Instagram, Sold by Naomi, or reach out to her at 408-623-1414. All the links are in the bio. Remember, guys, support those who support us.
Gotta get uncomfortable to get comfort.
There's some help, and it ain't on the way. It's already waiting for you.
This little pill right here could take over your life, and I found that out the hard way. Mission statement of this podcast highlights stories of people that I've met in my journey in recovery. Man, we're here with Thelma. First of all, Thelma, thank you for taking your time to sit down and do this with us. I appreciate it, man.
Come on, DJ, man. It's an honor to be here. You don't even realize what you've got here. How many people are exposed to what you're doing? How many people you're going to help? I was just talking to one of my sponsees about that, man. It's like, this is capable of blowing up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That also scares me at the same time, right?
I appreciate. What an honor that you asked me to come here and be a part of this. I'm so excited about being a part of this. I think this is fabulous.
Well, you know what, the feeling's mutual, right? Because the first time I heard you speak, right, it was at an event we were having in Los Banos, and I'm like, man, this woman's message is powerful, right? It resonated with me, not only with me, but with my wife, right? And then I see you conduct yourself, right? Because I'm always watching people, right? And I see how you conduct yourself. I see how you welcome people, right? You give big hugs, right?
It's my thing.
And you're always bringing a positive attitude, right? And so, like, these are the people that I want to highlight on this podcast, right? Is because the stigma of once an addict, always an addict, right? You know, and not so much what we think about each other in recovery, but what the outside world looks at us as, right? There's more to us than just getting clean and being a miserable existence, right?
For me, anyway.
Right, and for most of us, it's a happy ending.
Yeah, happy ending.
Right? And so we always like to start this thing off like what's your clean date, Thelma?
Yeah, it's coming up July 15th, 1993.
Man, that's some time. So you're coming up on 30 years.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
I'm excited.
I'm sure I could tell. So what does that clean date mean to you?
Oh, that I got to walk with the God of my understanding for the last 30 years.
Right.
Trying to get it like he wants me to have it.
Right.
You know? Like learning how to do his will. Finding out what my purpose is. And I found that. This, the program that I'm in allowed me to do this.
Right.
So, in celebration of that day, I'm like, come one, come all, to Veterans Cove on July 15th and at Yosemite Lake.
Well, I think I might have to put that in my calendar.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I want as many people as I possibly can get to that's a milestone, baby.
Yeah, no, that's huge.
You know what I mean? That's huge. I mean, really, I've been blessed to be alive.
Right.
Be alive.
And so, like, now knowing what that means to you, right? Like, people want to know the reverse, right? Like, I mean, 30 years clean is amazing, right?
Heck yeah.
So, like, what were things look like for Thelma? Like, and I mean, we can go as far back as you want, right? If you want to touch on what it looked like for you growing up.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, give it to me.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing that I fell in love with was sugar. And they had this medicine called Father John's. That's how I knew I was definitely different. I was 4 years old and I was trying to drink the whole bottle. It's supposed to be medicine. Medicine's not supposed to taste good, but it's so sweet. I just downed it. Okay, so my mom, it was just me and my mom, and I had siblings, but my siblings were like scattered. I had a sister that I had never seen because when she's 6 years older than me, and when she was 2, my uncle and aunt took her, and they lived in Florida. My brothers lived with my grandfather, and I lived with my mom. So my whole life until I was 34, I pretty much lived with my mom. I wasn't leaving home.
Yeah.
I wasn't leaving home. But, and I was really protective of my mom. So when I was like 7 years old, she got married to this man. And I don't know. I used to think when we crossed the street, he changed because he was so fun over here. And then when we crossed the street, I mean, and he drank both places. But when we went across the street after they got married, then he put hands on her. He wants to put hands on her. But what was so
Sorensen's also has a Modesto location located at 1433 Coffee Road. Modesto, true value for all your hardware needs. For all of our people out in the Modesto area, please support those who support us. Thank you.
amazing about that is she always got the upper hand on that. But
You're raised by a tough woman.
Yeah, she's strong. She wasn't. Don't play with her. Yeah, I wasn't gonna play with her.
When
I've seen some things she did.
I understand that dynamic, right? Because I'm raised a daughter. She was 1.5 when I got into her life, right? And I don't call her my stepdaughter. 'Cause she's my daughter, right?
Right, exactly.
And when I went away for treatment, right, it was explained to me like I didn't understand. Number one, she was hurt, right? And number two, somebody had to explain it to me that your daughter has assumed the role of protector, right? And so she feels like it's dangerous when you're around because you're inconsistent, right? So she's taking the place of protecting her mother, right? And it's going to take a while for her to ease back and realize that that's not her job anymore, right? So when I hear you say that, that's what comes to my mind.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, so many times I would try to get in between them, and one incident when I got in between them, and I like when he got drunk, I was the one that could talk him down, have him go lay down. This day he was not having it, and he ended up calling me a little bitch and smacking me. But then I attacked. He smacked me, and next thing I know, he was on my couch with my hands around him. I was like 11. Like, what? No, you're not going to do that to me. And I've had that kind of mentality, and my mentality growing up, because I couldn't understand why when my mom and him and my dad would fight and we'd leave, we'd always come back.
Right.
I did not understand that. And so I asked her, like, why do we keep going back? She said, because I love him.
Right.
And I said, I don't don't want that kind of love.
Well, it's amazing that you were able to discern between the two at such a young age, right? Because a lot of people see that and they just follow in the footsteps.
Oh heck no! I was no.
Yeah.
Don't hit me. Because my mentality was eliminate the problem.
Right.
And I mean, eliminate the problem. Like I'm not trying to hurt you. I want you dead.
Right. Yeah.
I want you dead. That's the way, and that's the way I thought it should be throughout life. But I was not one that liked to fight. I'm a lover. I'm
Yeah.
not a fighter. But don't get things twisted. Like you think you can walk all over me. But there's a flip side to me.
Yeah.
Because I think my nature growing up, I was still a very loving person. I was very affectionate because my mom was very loving and very affectionate. And it was just her and I for those first 7 years, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it was me and my mom, so I'm going to protect my mom. And that led to, like, in school, never spending the night at someone's house and never bringing anybody over to spend the night with me because I never knew what he was going to do.
Right.
And I didn't want to be embarrassed, right? And I was also very frightened and scared for my mom. So I grew up like that, very scared for my mom. And my release then was sports. And I probably played every sport that we had. And then I got obsessed with the letters. And so we get letters in every sport. Basketball was my thing, but like on the way back home is when I got anxious.
Right.
Like, is my mom going to be alive when I get there? That kind of thing.
Well, that's a heck of a thing for a kid to have to worry about.
Heck yeah.
Right. And so on one hand, you're raised with this loving mother, but then at the same time, she's allowing people into your life that are causing trauma, not only to her, but yourself.
Me.
Right. And then now you find your escape in sports and things like that. Mm-hmm. So what does that look like pushing forward? Did you stay involved with all these extracurricular activities?
I did. Well, mainly basketball, because basketball was really my thing. I just played other sports to get a letter.
Right. You want that jacket that was just boom.
It was, too. It had all the letters full in the back and all that. That was my thing. So, and getting voted most athletic because I was in everything. When I got out, when I graduated, I got to play a little college ball. But I left school, went into the Air Force. That's how I got to California.
Okay.
Played Air Force, all Air Force basketball. Played in the league on the base. Like the only female playing against these guys, and they was not trying to let me shoot. They weren't. They felt like if I shot on them, they were embarrassed.
Yeah.
They got burnt. Or whatever. So I got some shots off though. That's how you end up making the deep shots. You ain't taking it in there for no layup because they gonna kill you there. But I did. I played City League and all that. I coached it. I was doing really well until my mom died.
Got it.
See, that's what.
And how old were you at that point?
I was 34.
34 years old.
Yeah, because when I first went in 75. And she came out to visit me in 76 when I got here in California. And a few months later, she gave me a call. Your dad's got a shotgun. He's threatening me with a shotgun. Wired her that money right there.
Right.
She was that day. She was in California. By the time he got home from work, my mom and my little brother were here in California.
Right. So you were able to get them out of that mess.
You're not dealing with that.
And so it's interesting because you dealt with a lot coming up, right? And then you found this release in sports, joined the military. So all the way up until this point, life is manageable. And then mom passes away.
Woo! That was it.
And so, what happens after mom passes away?
Thelma feels like she don't have nothing to live for.
Right.
I didn't have anything to live for. I couldn't figure it out that I had something that me, I forgot I lived my whole life to please my mom.
Right.
But I wanted to bring some joy and happiness in her life because I was the kid that sat next to mom and listened to her life story, and she had a really tough life growing up, and I wanted someone to think about her and bring joy in her life. So she might have done some things that were not healthy or a good example or whatever, but I figured, she deserves some happiness.
Right. Well, and at the end of the day, she was probably just doing the best she could with what she had, right?
For sure.
And that's
She was just a really remarkable woman. Now, I was amazed at the love that she had. And she left me with that.
right.
I'm so grateful for that. But when she died, I felt like, who do I have to bring joy to? Because I did that for my mom. Like I was the first one in the family to go to college, to graduate, all that. And so I was like, you didn't do it, so I'll do it in
Right.
your stead. And when she died, I felt like I had nothing to live for. So I'm looking at this. I just wanted to be with her. And so I was looking at television, and that's when crack was killing people. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Wow.
I'm gonna get some crack, and I'm gonna die and be with my mom.
Crazy.
Well, didn't work. that didn't work.
So it was straight to crack, huh?
It was straight to crack.
Wow. And I'm sure that decline didn't take too long.
Oh heck no. Because okay, so here I am. I'm a teacher. And I just got a brand new car, had 5 miles on it. And I make this decision because I was ready. I was all prepared. My mother and I were shopping for things to put in a home because my thinking was, I'm going to buy her a house. And then she died.
Right. It almost seems like that protector lost her job, right? Like once your mom passed away, that was you, right? I'm going to
That was
protect
me.
my mother and do this, and then
Exactly.
you're
And
left
give
without
her
a purpose.
that and do all, nobody else can do it. I'll bring her joy.
Right.
All the things she ever wanted, I will give it to her, And then she died, and then I felt empty. Even though I had a niece that I was raising, even though I had a brother that was right next to me, I couldn't see nothing but the pain.
Wow.
That's all I could see. And so I went on this journey to kill myself, really. Very angry when I woke up. So I'm doing that, and I was out there for like 4 years. I went to prison like 3 times. And then this God that I've always known, because as a young kid, my mom took me to church and stuff like that. But as a young kid, I would read for myself.
Right.
And I remember John, actually. I read that chapter, and I that whole thing, I was like, wow, I want to be like Jesus, because nothing could stop him. Like, he was so loving to everyone. I wanted to be like him. So then I have something to live for, right? But I don't know how to stop smoking crack. But I'm in prison this 3rd time around. And this God that was like, so is that all you're going to do? I can hear, like we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
That's the way you was having a conversation with me. Is that all you're going to do? You just going to go to prison, get out, get loaded, go to prison, get out, get loaded. And I couldn't respond.
Right.
Is that how your mother raised you? Is that how you're going to honor her name? That was a blow.
Right.
So then Thelma goes, talking in the third person.
That's all right.
I'm not going to use it anymore. Excuse me. Because I'm thinking I can do this. I can just stop.
You just stop by
I can
yourself.
just stop and be all right, and go back to living the way I lived before drugs.
Well, because up until that point in your life, it seemed like anything that you set your mind to, you accomplished.
Heck yeah.
Right. And and now you're caught up in the cycle. We call it like the cycle of insanity, or that
crazy.
And so, how long does it take from the point that you try, your first drug, or it may not have been the first drug, but crack, right, and then to the first time you end up in a prison cell?
Oh, less than a year.
And so that's the wild thing, right? It doesn't take long.
So I might start smoking in February. By June, I was evicted. I had lost my car. I was homeless without realizing that I was homeless, right? Because I always had a roof over my head. Somebody always let me in, whatever.
So life dramatically changed within less than a year.
Oh, my God. Less than 6 months. 6 months, I ain't had nothing.
Right.
The only thing that kept me going was the fact that when I started teaching, I went on the pay me for 12 months instead of like the 9-month school year. And so when I resigned, the money still came in for the rest of the year.
You didn't have money for rent though, no more.
Rent.
You had other things on your mind.
Rent. I was okay with being evicted because that money was going toward my dope, man.
And it's amazing, like, what we can become okay with, right?
Yeah. When you look back and you go, really? What made me think that was a good idea?
Right.
What made me think that was a good idea? That wasn't a good idea. But I went to this place. I didn't even know it was a treatment facility. I had no idea about recovery.
Right.
And I was in this place, and on the 6th day, we have to have this open meeting, and people from the outside could come. And so 2 people came to that meeting, and that changed my life. I had been there 6 days with no dope without even realizing.
And so this is after the third prison stay?
After the third prison
and you ended up in a treatment facility?
I ended up there only because I was looking for a place. I needed an address. Either an address, my parole officer's like, you need to get an address or I'm going to have to send you back.
Right.
So I get an address. I get some help from, because when I first got out, I was supposed to be going to this one place, but they were like, we need $300. I was like, shoot, they don't even give you $300 gate money.
Right.
I don't have no money. So she gave me a number to another place, and I went. I called them, went and screened for them, and they, I called them every day because when I went in, my PO was like, I went in, I said, hey, I'm going to give you a dirty because I just used Saturday, And for the last 3 years, I knew it was going to take more than 2 days for this thing to clear out your system.
Right.
So he said, okay, well, you come back Wednesday, you better be clean. I'm going to send you right back where you came from.
So now you're 6 days clean, and I'm kind of assuming that it's an H&I panel that comes into the facility. Is it a 12-step recovery meeting that they brought in?
12-step recovery meeting that they brought in. And this lady was sharing it. I was so fixated on her, I thought she was just talking to me.
Right.
Like I'm in a room full of people, but she's having this conversation with me. And she said, you never have to use again. And I was like, wow.
Right.
Right? And she goes, you never have to use again unless you want to. That was powerful.
Right.
And then she said, you never have to use again even if you want to. That was extremely powerful because there were times when I did not want to use. And if I seen it, it was all over.
Right.
I could not resist. But I scooted to the edge of my chair looking at her like, how? What do you have to do? And she said, well, if you don't pick it up, you can't get loaded.
Right.
And I said, she's a fucking genius. She's a fucking genius, man. And then she kept going. She said, all you have to do is go to meetings on a regular basis and get a sponsor and work steps and apply these principles to your life. You have a support group and you get a home group and you be of service to someone other than yourself. That one got me.
Right.
What? Do something for somebody?
Right.
Haven't done that in 4 years, Well, so anyway, I was looking at her like, man, I need this woman in my life.
Right.
I need her in my life. I had no idea what a sponsor was and what they did. I had no idea what traditions meant. I had never been to a meeting yet, right? So I get to go to this meeting. And of course she's there. But I get to go to this meeting and wow, that was a real eye-opener, right? But the thing is that 6th day I was already bought into it. I believed everything she said, so I'm going to try to do this.
Right. And that's amazing because most people that come in, their first meeting ain't like that.
They don't believe that shit.
Yeah. No, that's how, when I came in, I was like, you're high right now, right? Like, like not realizing that person may commute and like work 12 hours a day and they just may be tired, right?
Exactly.
I'm in there taking people's inventory and doing all this wild shit. And I still do it sometimes,
And
to be 100% honest. But I think so I have to imagine, so recovery finds you, right? And then you embrace it. Like, what does early recovery look like for you? Because you found a sponsor, a mentor.
I immediately went to pray for this sponsor because I just figured this person is going to be hecka important to me, right? So I was praying. I was even praying for her. I was asking my God to open her heart and let me in because the first several times that I was about to ask her, I could hear her like talk to her sponsees. I'm never gonna, I'm not gonna take any more sponsees. And I walk away like, I ain't gonna be embarrassed. It's hella scary to go up to somebody and ask them for help.
Right.
And I already had fear of rejection, so I avoided that when I heard that, and then I was about to approach her again. She said, "I'm not gonna sponsor any more people from this place." Kept walking, but kept walking, but kept praying, kept asking for her. And so at 60 days, I went to pick up my 60-day chip. She was the secretary or chairperson of that meeting. And she gave me this chip and then asked, how did you do it?
Right.
And only way I could was this God took care of me for those 60 days. And I repeated the stories about how I wanted to get her as a sponsor. And it was so funny because we have this thing about anonymity, right?
Yeah.
So I thought I couldn't mention her name, period. So I would just say, well, I was going to ask somebody to be my sponsor, but they weren't taking any more sponsees. And then the next time I wanted to ask this person, so everybody in the room knew I was talking about her
right.
without me saying her name. That's when we had breaks at these meetings, and I got ready to get up, and she said, "Sit down," and I sat right down, and she said, "Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it." And this big grin came across my face because what she was telling me is that, yes, I'm going to sponsor you. Happiest day of my life, at this time. And so we began to work together. And at first, I was trying to impress her. So whatever she's your sponsor. So he was like, I don't think it's a good idea. So even though I was upset with him, I stayed. And I probably learned more about myself in those 30 days than I did the previous 90. But my sponsor came to me and said, "Hey, why don't you come live with me, work for me? You can keep all the money, just chip in your food stamps for the food." And I got to, what a great experience. I got to find out first that she was human.
Right.
Because when you're home, boy, you're a whole different person than when you're at a meeting.
You got to take her off that pedestal, right?
That's right. And but she's still very loving.
Right.
She still was very caring. I just got to see what happens when things don't go her way, or the way she thinks things should happen. But what happened for me there is I got to go to every meeting that there was. I got to participate in being of service to someone other than myself.
Right.
Of course, I didn't like that, but I had to do it for a year. It was a GSR alternate. And I got to go to conventions. She took me to the World Convention. She took me to mid-state regional conventions. She took me everywhere. I was at the women's retreat, and then the topper, she took me to Hawaii. That place I always wanted to go.
Right.
And when she did that, I said, "Oh, if this recovery program is anything like this, I'm staying. I want to see what the end's going to be."
Right.
And so we were together for 14 years, and she just recently passed away. And she was like a mother figure for me, because when I came into Narcotics Anonymous, I had this need for a mother. I lost my mother.
Right.
And I had a need for a mother, and so she became mom. And gosh, I got to be there when she left. I still have her ashes. It's just, she was a phenomenal woman, and today I have another person that helps me out.
So how'd you deal with that loss, right? Because losing your mother is what drove you to like want to kill yourself, as you explained it, right? And so there's a big space of time between you lost your mother and you lost your sponsor, right?
Right.
And so you got to do a lot of working on Thelma.
Right.
So what did that process when you lost her?
When I first when I first went in that treatment facility, one of the counselors told me to write my mom a letter.
Right.
And tell her everything you wanted to say. And so I did that. And when I did that, something changed in me. I ended up realizing that my death was just a part of life.
Right.
And so my whole perception of death changed. And I've had several in my time being in my recovery. So like my spouse passed, my daughter passed, my brother and sister passed within 6 months of each other. Just a lot. I had a lot of people that were very close pass, and today, just like then, after I did that thing on my mom, death was never the same for me. So I don't get all. I mean, it hurts, but I don't get so emotional where it just brings me to that point of destruction. I did a lot of work. I did a lot of step work. I was sponsoring people when I had 11 months. So as I continue to find out more about myself and what my purpose is because that's what's really important to me. It's finding out that this loving little kid that just wanted to love everybody, that went to a period of time where people picked at her and made her feel unworthy. My self-esteem was gone, and all that stuff, to coming in here and letting this program and this step work change me back and allow me to be who I really was created to be. And that is that kid that wanted to be just like Jesus, right? That kid that wanted to just love everybody. And so the newcomer becomes very important to me. I want them to get what I got, right? I want them to get what I got. So I'm greeting them like, if nobody else in this room cares about you, I do.
Right.
And I'm going to love on you if you let me love on you. And then guess what? I love you and there ain't nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do is you can either accept it or reject it. But you didn't give it to me, so you can't take it away. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what that's my purpose.
Right.
To love everybody. And that's hard for me. It's very difficult for me, and I see the things that I do, but it allows me to come back and make amends to you, like real quick, because I can't sit with it, right?
Yeah.
And then there's been times when I thought I was so right that I wasn't gonna make no amends to you. I was gonna hold on to this resentment, like drink this poison and hope you die. Kind of thing, but this God is so powerful in my life. He lets me know. Like when I say things like, well, this person came to my house, did this, you're not gonna do this stuff to me, you're not gonna disrespect me. And then I hear, how many times have you disrespected me? Woo! See, that'll bring you down.
Right.
that let you be right, put you in your place. And so I get to go back and make an amends.
Yeah.
And let my heart fill with love. Because whenever that kind of stuff, it just blocks what I really want to give.
Yeah.
The kind of person I want to be.
And so that's the purpose, right? Like
That's
what
the purpose.
you talked about at the beginning of the podcast is finding your purpose. And so you find your purpose in recovery and helping the new person along.
Exactly.
And how do you keep some for yourself?
Oh, you got to have time.
Right.
You got to have some me time, and I get my me time. I get my me time. I'm getting ready to go away. Like the 7th to the 9th, I'm going to be at the convention, and then we leave from the 9th to the 20th. We're going out to Massachusetts to see my grandson. His birthday's on the 12th, and then we'll probably stay there a week and then go to Virginia because both my spouse and I, our families are in Virginia. So we're going to go and check them out, spend a week there, and then come on home, settle in, and then have a day off before I have to go back to work.
Okay. So what keeps you, you got 30 years coming up.
Yes.
Right? And so what keeps you in the rooms, and what keeps you in the recovery process after that? Because a lot of people, like people that don't understand what we do, right? They're like, you got to go to another meeting, right? How long are you going to do those classes, right? That's my favorite one.
That is too.
How long are you going to do these classes? Like what keeps you so passionate about it is that newcomer, right?
Right. I can't greet the newcomer if I'm not going to meet.
Right.
But the other thing is learning how to do the will of God takes a lot of practice, and it takes people supporting you. And that's where I found my family. So I got support there, when I'm doing stuff or going through stuff, I got people to help me out.
Right.
But most of all, it's those are my people. Those are my people. That's my tribe.
Right.
So I stick with my tribe, and that's not to say that I don't go outside of this recovery program. It's because everybody I meet is worthy of my love.
Right.
Right? So I don't have to go to these meetings or classes, but I love going to the meetings and classes.
Right. And that's my perspective on it too, right? And when I first got clean, I was in a meeting every day.
Yeah.
Right? I was in a meeting. Yeah. And I was losing touch with the things that, because I got clean for me,
right,
but also for my family, right? So then I had to find some balance, right? And
time to spend with them.
And then now I get the opportunity to show the people that aren't in recovery that recovery works.
Exactly.
Right? And so, like, what does that mean to you, right? Because during that year or those years where you were using and become that different version of Thelma, right? What did it mean to you to get it back, right? And to be able to show your face in the world and feel good about yourself.
Wow. What does it mean?
Yeah.
That means everything.
Right.
To be able to be who you were meant to be and express love the way you were meant to express it. Gosh, what greater reward is that than to be able to love people.
Right.
Right? And people have their own ideas about what love is. And so I get to share with them my version of it, what love looks like to me.
Right.
You know, and that's awesome because I can do that to anybody. I have a daycare, I get to show it to all those babies.
Right.
Their parents, I get to show it to them. You know, and I take real good care of their kids, and their kids sometimes are not ready to go home. And that makes the parent feel real comfortable, like, hey, they like being here.
Right.
So she must be doing something good. So I'll bring them more.
Well, and it's not like it's just not here that you show that.
No, it's not just here.
Everywhere I see you,
everywhere.
You have this aura, right? Like you're like a happy beacon. Right? Like it just comes off of you, right? And it seems like it's almost contagious because the people sitting next to you seem pretty damn happy too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what, like, I think people don't understand. Like when they see people on here, this is the genuine Thelma, right?
Yeah.
This is how you are.
This is it.
So, I mean, like, the one thing that bothers me, right, is people, you know, like people that pay attention to this, or maybe especially people that see like the short clips of this, right? Like they'll be like, well, I did this by myself. Like, this doesn't work, or this, you know, I don't need this, right? But this thing that we do, it's not for everybody, right?
It's your life. You get to do exactly what you want to do. I didn't bring myself to this program because I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
So I can't take credit for that. You know, and people say, you know, like, I came here on my own. That's not my story. I can't say I came here on my own. I could say my God brought this to me.
Right.
And we have conversations. He tells me what to say, tells me what to do. And if I stay in contact with them, oh man, I can bring out the best in me.
Right.
And when I don't, I get to be in my own head. Now, this works for me. This is the reason why I'm coming up on 30 years.
Right.
And this is the reason why I'm so happy. Now, I don't know if somebody else, they could be clean for 30 years doing it on their own. And I can guarantee they're not as happy as I am.
Right.
They're not as happy as I am. People don't understand the full benefit is to go through the steps. That's the full benefit. It changes the way you think and perceive, and it gives you a new drive and a purpose and excitement, and you're anticipating everything. Wow. I can look forward to some things, and if they don't happen, it's still gonna be all right.
Right.
Because if I don't get something, it wasn't meant for me. But everything that is for me is mine. I will get it. There's no getting around that. I'm going to get, that's mine. Got my name on it. Got my name on it. I'm going to get it. I'm not in it for, like, to make money. That's not my thing. You know, some people want to be rich. I am rich. I'm already rich. My father owns everything. So it's all mine. I don't have to have it in a big lump. You know, whatever I need, I have.
Right.
And I get some of the stuff that I just want. You know, so I'm a blessed person. You know what it's like to be blessed and know you're blessed.
Right.
And an opportunity to do the will of the God of your understanding. Your God. What you perceive your God to do. Doing, oh my gosh. Could you, whew, now that's heavy.
Right.
That's really heavy. To have them use you, to have them move in you. Oh, that's so exciting. Oh, that's greater than anything in this world is worth fighting for, worth dying for is love.
Right.
Pure, unadulterated love. I don't love you because you're handsome. I don't love you because you're smart. I don't love you because I just love you. That's amazing.
That is.
That is freaking amazing. And to anybody and to everybody, to learn how to do that, that's the whole thing. Learning how to do that. Learning how to love somebody unconditional. You know, when they do stuff that you don't like,
right,
when they say things that hurt your feelings, and you still can love them, whoa.
That's freedom.
That is freedom.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want because he does it through me.
See, that's awesome.
And I want to pay attention to him.
So what would you say, Thelma, to somebody that's listening to this, right? That's hearing your voice, maybe for the first time, right? And they may be out there and they don't know what to do, how to do it, but they know things are pretty unmanageable, right? Like, what would you say to somebody that's out there right now?
Come on in, the water's fine. I'll help you.
Right.
I'll walk you through it till you can find somebody else that you want to walk with you. I'll be your support the whole time. I'm going to love you till you love yourself. And then after you learn how to love yourself, I'm going to still love you. That's a lot of love going on.
Right.
Yeah. Give it a try. Give yourself a year with this. Doing it the way it's written. And if it don't work for you, it don't work for you.
Right.
That's what I tell them. That's what I do tell them.
Well, and I know a lot of people that you work with, right? And, and I see their lives, right? And I see your life. So that shows me it works.
Oh, heck yeah.
I don't need any other proof.
That's right. They're gonna, you know, what I've been taught, I get to pass on to others. So, like the people I sponsor, they kind of are like me in many ways.
Right.
They're their own person, but for the most part, you're gonna find that they're loving and they're caring and they're giving. That's what we do.
Right.
And we don't use no matter fucking what.
No matter what.
No matter what, baby.
Perfect. I think we touched it all. Is there anything you want to share before we wrap it up?
I think I said all I was supposed to say.
All right. Well, then you owe me a hug.
Oh,
'Cause that's what we do.
That's what we do. That's what we do, bro.
Oh, Thelma, thank you so much.
Thank you, EJ, for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. See, I get a kiss too.
You get that.
You know what's funny? I gave Larry R. You know Larry Ray from Visalia?
I doubt it.
Yeah. If you've seen him, I bet you would know him because he's been around. But I gave him a hug after, right? He's like, is this uncomfortable yet? I said a little bit. He's like, well, we're gonna keep